The following program is a technical archive and scientific documentary tracking the biological development of ornamental cultivars within a closed-loop living soil ecosystem. This footage is presented strictly for educational and botanical research purposes. If you're looking for the complete, unrestricted technical manuals, unedited instructional cultivation guides, and advanced horticultural techniques, you need to access my private Patreon page. I'm going to be using the wet paper towel technique to germinate these seeds. I'm adding in a little bit of seaweed extract, just to add flavor. Don't drink it. Seaweed extract's loaded with hormones, so it's going to give that seed just a little boost. After cleaning up my mess, I dropped the paper towel in the cup. I'm just going to let it absorb this water. But I don't want the paper towel to be too wet, just enough. I opened up that paper towel, but not completely. I want a couple layers to keep the moisture. I dropped in my seeds and I sprinkled some magic dust on it. Mycorrhiza is a beneficial fungi that attaches to your plant's roots. Look into it. So I'm using down-to-earth rosin flour to provide most of the NPK. Azomite for trace minerals, oyster shell for extra calcium, and crab shell meal for a little extra calcium, but also for the chitin. Look into that. I sprinkled clover seed over the top of the soil, and I watered in 2 gallons with my pump sprayer. And all I'm looking for is a cracked seed and a little bit of taproot exposed. I poked a hole in the soil, only about a knuckle deep, then I sprinkled in some more magic dust, and I dropped in my seed. It's day number 7, and the seeds finally came out of the soil. Now that the seedling's out, it's going to need a little air turbulence. Now the air turbulence is going to cause movement in the seedling, and with time this is going to strengthen that stem. Plants and microbes are best friends. You see, microbes break down organic matter and convert it into a plant-usable nutrient. And plants excrete exudates, mostly carbs and sugars, and this attracts the microbes to the root zone. And this is perfect because now the microbes are creating nutrients right at the root zone where the plant can absorb it. This is beneficial to both the plant and the microbes because the microbes get the simple sugars and the carbs, and the plant gets all the nutrients in a soluble form. And man, these two can't get enough of each other. I haven't watered this plant in 18 days, and that soil is retaining that moisture, and it's mostly due to the size of the pot. The more soil there is, the longer it takes for changes to happen, but the top of the soil tends to dry out a lot quicker in most pots. I usually only give it about a 10 count, and the speed that pump sprayer is spraying equals to about a cup. This plant looks like it's getting ready to blow up. It's got a lot of lateral branch development and very tight internode spacing. But there's some lower branches that are not going to make it to the top of the canopy, and they're just taking up energy. So I'm going to remove these, and I'm just going to let them drop in the soil and let them decompose. Free fertilizer. Today, I'm going to mix up a batch of compost tea. I start with 2 cups of compost inside of a paint strainer bag. This is a gallon of reverse osmosis filtered water. It's got seaweed extract in it and molasses, 1 tablespoon each. I dunk the bag a few times to make sure that compost is wet all the way through. I want to promote the growth of good bacteria, and most good bacteria live in oxygen-rich environments. So I'm using an air pump to keep the liquid oxygenated. This pump has 2 outlets, and I only have 1 air stone. So I've used the micro irrigation tee to split off the main line. It's day number 38 from Seed Sprout, and I've topped this plant one time. That, along with a little bit of LSD, has helped to create a very even canopy. And now that the canopy's all even, I'm going to top one more time to create thicker lower branches and multiple branches up top. More branches, more flowers. Alright, so this is day number 41 from Seed Sprout, and I haven't done much trimming, maybe just the lower leaves, but it's starting to get really bushy. And the problem is that some of these big fan leaves are covering some of the main leading stems, and what I want to do is to either try to push them away so the leading stems can get more light, or cut them off if there's no other way. But the other reason why I want to start dealing with this now is because these leaves are transpiring, and what that means is they're releasing moisture, and if they're touching up against each other, then what might end up happening is the moisture might just settle there, not go anywhere, and that could lead to mold situations. So I want to be careful with that. So there it is. I cut about 7 leaves and it made a huge difference. See, now you can see more of the tops or the apicals exposed, and this is going to help them or encourage them to grow. So this is a 39-inch tent, and the plant looks like it's almost filled up the whole thing, and we're still in veg. She's going to grow a lot more, especially the first 2 weeks of flower. So I think it's probably about time we switch her over, because if I don't, it's just going to outgrow this tent. This plant's photosensitive, and what that means is the amount of light it receives in one day, or lack of light it receives, directly affects the plant's growth stages. So if it's dark 12 hours a day or longer for a long period of time, it's going to trigger flowering stage. You see, during late spring and summer, the days are long and the nights are short. But when fall comes around, the nights are longer and the days are shorter. And this also means that there's only a couple of months left till winter, and most plants don't survive through winter. So this plant triggers flowering stage because the flowers are the plant's sexual organs. This is where the seeds are created. Cannabis plants are dioecious, and this means there's males and females, but we don't have any males in our room. So this plant's going to create flowers in anticipation of pollen it's never going to receive. And the longer it goes without it, the bigger and heavier and frostier those flowers are going to get. But it's super bushy, and I want to avoid problems in the future with mold and things like that, so I need good air movement under there. So I'm going to start removing some of these bottom leaves, get a better look at her. Drying is a critical part of the growing process. Drying slow and low ensures that your herb dries evenly, both on the outside and the inside of the flower. If the drying room is too hot and too dry, the outside of the herb can dry too quickly, and this can lead to excessive moisture inside the flower, which can cause mold. If you want to dry your flowers evenly, it's important to keep a controlled environment. This helps prevent fast moisture loss from the outer layers and allows the inside of the flowers to dry at the same rate. When you first hang your plant up to dry, it's going to continue to transpire and release moisture for a few days. This transpiration can make your room humid, depending on the size of the space, of course. My number one priority is to keep the temp and humidity where it needs to be. Exhausting the air from the grow room can help control humidity, but you can also use a dehumidifier. It's really important to know that whatever option you choose, there's always going to be an impact on the environment. You should know that smaller flowers tend to dry quicker though, and it just really has to do with the surface area. Now, flowers can lose 80 to 90% moisture and size in the drying process. This is called the twig snap test. I pulled 396 grams from a single plant using organic methods. I'm happy with 14 ounces. And although these flowers did foxtail a little bit, they're still pretty dense. But you know we can't leave it at that. We gotta get this shit tested. My name's Hank, aka Cali Green, and I want to thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Don't forget to check out the links in the description section of this video. Follow me on Instagram, join me on Patreon, check out my website, and if you like this video, click like. Peace.